Okay, Gemara Kesubos, Pei Vav Amid Beis. There's
86b2.
86b2, the top Mishnah. In other words, above midway of the page. Okay, this is a new Mishnah, obviously. Okay, the Mishnah says like this: Hamesha v'zishte chanvonius. If a guy sets up his wife, before the Gemara was talking about who you can make swear and so on and so forth. So the Gemara says like this: a guy gets married, he sets up his wife as a storekeeper. She's running the business for him. Or Shemina Petrupia, he appointed her an administrator of his business. So the din is Areza Mashpia Kozman Sheyirtze. He can make her swear on any of the business things whenever he wants her to. Even though it's his wife, if there's a deal and he says, I don't know what you did, I wanted to swear, the din is he can make her swear. Now Eliezer takes it even a step further. Even concerning her spindle or her dough, he can make her swear. In other words, one of the obligations a wife has to the husband is to weave things and to make things and to bake bread. So even if he gives her dough and she produces bread, or he gives her thread, he can make her swear how much she used, and if she didn't take any, she didn't steal any. It's a great marriage here. A great marriage. Huh? Well, we'll see in the Gemara. It's rabbinical. It's not biblical. Okay, so basically the first opinion says the husband can make his wife swear in business issues. Either if she's in charge of a store, or she, or an administrator of the business. And Rabbi Eliezer takes it even personal things he can make her swear. So the Gemara says, the Gemara asks the question, what is Rabbi Eliezer's opinion? When Rabbi Eliezer says you can even make her swear on spindle thread and on dough, it doesn't mean Aidei Gilgul Ka'amar, by means of a Gilgul Shvur, and I'll explain in a second what that means, or Lechatchila Ka'amar, even if it's just for that. There's a din in the Torah that's called Gilgul Shvur. What's Gilgul Shvur? Gilgul Shvur means a roaming Shvur. Sometimes a person doesn't have to swear for certain things in halacha. But if you're swearing for other things that you do have to swear for, I can roll over the shvua that you have to swear for that also. I mean, I can't lechatchila make you swear on it, but I can make you, once I make you swearing for something that you have to swear, so then you have to swear. I can make you swear Gilgul Shvur for other things that you really don't have to swear. So now Rabbi Eliezer comes along in the Mishnah, and Rabbi Eliezer says that he can make his wife swear even for spindle or for dough. So the question is, does Rabbi Eliezer mean that if the wife is swearing anyway for business, for the store or for the administration, then he can also roll over the shvua for thread and bread? Or does he mean no, just for that itself he can make her swear? Just for bread and thread itself he can make her swear. So this is the Gemara's question, what does Rabbi Eliezer mean? So the Gemara says, Tashma, come, I'll prove it to you. It says, Rabbi Eliezer, the Chacham said to Rabbi Eliezer, what are you, crazy? How can you make a guy make his wife swear over dough and thread? He says, you can't make a person live with a snake in the same basket. He said, you know what you're doing to this poor girl? You're making her living with a snake. That means he doesn't trust her at all, not even for thread or bread. And he says, the Chacham said, how can you demand such a thing? So the Gemara says like this. So therefore the Gemara is going to prove, remember, did Rabbi Eliezer say he can make us swear only through a Gilgul Shvur, only through Teichin Shvur for the bread or the dough or thread? Or does he mean even Lechatchila make us swear? So he said like this. If you told me Rabbi Eliezer says he can make us swear initially for thread and bread, then Shapir, then the Chacham are saying good. They're telling them, hey, How can you make a guy, a wife who would live with such a snake, that he doesn't trust her, everything she does, he makes her swear? But if you're saying the husband could only make her swear and thread and bread when she's swearing on business administration, what's the difference to her if she's swearing on one thing or two things? In other words, like this. The Gemara wants to prove that Rabbi Elazar says he can make her even swear to begin with. Because if you're telling me it makes a Gilgul Shvuah, and then Rabbi Elazar says she has to swear on the thread and the bread, then so why should she mind? She's swearing anyway for business. So she does tax on something else. He's not trusting her anyway. So another thing to swear on is not going to make a big deal. The fact that the Chacham said to Rabbi Elazar, why are you making this woman live with a snake, implies that the guy wants her to swear just for the bread and the thread. And therefore they say, what type of husband is it? How can you force a wife to live with such a guy? So he says, no, it doesn't mean anything. The Amrale, because she can say to her husband, you know what? Kivin the Gadaika Basrei Kulahai, you're checking after me, you don't trust me at all. I don't want to live with you anymore anyway. It could mean even if it's Gilgul Shvuah. And Rabbi Elazar could say it's only Gilgul Shvuah. Why does Rabbi Elazar against even Gilgul Shvuah for the thread and the bread? Because a wife can say to the husband, okay, mail in business, I understand, you don't trust me, you want to make sure I did everything correctly. But you don't trust me at all, you expect me to live with you? You know, marriage is built on trust. The guy doesn't trust her at all, and he says, well, you know, come on, what do you expect me to do? I don't want to live with such a guy. Okay, so he says like this. Tashma, come and bring her a different proof. He says in the Mishnah later, the next Mishnah that we didn't get to yet. Okay, the Mishnah later says the following din. If a guy, before he gets married, writes to his wife, you are freed of any oath that I will ever make you have to swear later on, before they get married. Then the din is he cannot make her swear, even if she becomes the storekeeper or the administrator, because he already said you don't have to swear, right? What happens if a guy didn't free his wife from oaths? He didn't say anything. So he said, the husband did not exempt his wife from these oaths. And they made her a storekeeper. Or he elects her as administrator of his business. Because he never freed her from the oath, he can make her swear whenever he wants. What happens? What happens if he didn't make her in the store? Or he didn't make her an administrator, and he cannot make her swear. Okay? Meaning, if he didn't make her, in other words, the guy didn't say anything to his wife. Yes, swear, no, he didn't do anything. Now he makes her an apotropis or a storekeeper, the administrator, he can make her swear. What happens if he didn't make her storekeeper or administrator? He cannot make her swear. Comes along Rabbi Elazar, and he says, even if he didn't put her as a storekeeper, and he didn't appoint her as administrator, he can make her swear, which says clearly, by the way, that even for thread and bread, Rabbi Elazar says he can make her swear. He says, why? He says like this, there isn't a woman that doesn't become an administrator. There's no such thing as a wife not being in charge of something in the house. It can't happen. So Rabbi Elazar said she was always an apotropos. It can't be that she's not an apotropos. So they said to her, to Rabbi Elazar, but ein adam dar nachush b'kfifa. You can't make this lady sleep with the snake, live in the house with the snake. But what do you see from here? That according to Rabbi Elazar, even if she didn't become a storekeeper, even if she didn't become administrator, he can still make her swear. That means it's not only for the Gilgul Shvuah, because she's swearing already as a storekeeper, she can swear for the bread and thread. You see, Rabbi Elazar says that he can make her swear, and the Gemara Shusterman, it's not a good
swear about what? That she didn't steal it?
Yeah. To swear that she needs a cheshbon, exactly where it went and how she did it and everything. The halacha is not like Rabbi Elazar, by the way. Don't worry about it. No, the first part makes sense. If the woman is in charge of the store, or is administrator, yeah? There are certain people, Chum are afraid, this is what the Gemara says in a different place. One is going to go into the next Mishnah also. There are certain people that will find a leniency why it's not too bad to steal. She's running his business, yeah? She'll think, come on, I'm his wife. So I took a little bit extra here, a little bit extra, what's the big deal?
What is that called, stealing?
Technically, well, technically, the husband has an obligation to support her, which obviously he's doing. Now she wants to take extra. Don't forget, they didn't have community property on 50-50, right? Just think about technically, yeah? Let me ask you a question. If a kid goes, again, it's not realistic in today's world, but just think about it. A parent has an obligation to feed a child, yeah? Unless the parent feeds the child. And the child goes into the fridge and takes a candy bar, or to the cupboard and takes a candy bar, yeah? Technically, did the kid steal if he didn't ask permission?
Why would you need permission for something?
It's not his. Woman, think about it. One second. I know today it doesn't exist. I'm talking about in cold-blooded law, okay? In cold-blooded law, who owns the candy bar? The parent, not the kid.
Yeah, but there's never a parent who buys something that isn't meant for anybody in the house.
That's what you're saying, these men. What happens if you have a parent that doesn't want?
Then that's a parent that shouldn't be a parent.
That's right. Today, it's absurd, such a thing, yeah? Okay. But if you think about it, the concept is a concept. It's not the parent's thing. Correct? Let me ask you another question. If a kid, even today, will take a parent's car without permission, technically, is that not stealing?
Yeah, listen.
Is it not stealing?
If the kid's used to driving it all the time, it's not stealing.
What's the difference? He's still needs permission.
If the kid is on the
Whose
insurance,
car is it?
If the kid is on the insurance.
Whose car is it? No. You see, you're talking already now because insurance. I'm talking in.
I'll give you a better example. If the kid goes into your wallet, then you see it takes $100. That's that I would.
Why is that different than driving a car and taking a chocolate bar? Because the chocolate bar is $5 and it's $100.
No, it's niche.
What's the difference if a kid can go
because
into
the parent is responsible for feeding the kid, so anything in the house he buys is
not nash, not extra.
Not nash. What, only entrees? Come on.
No, he has to feed him. The kid would have to ask permission.
No.
What do you mean? Halachically,
do your kids have to ask for anything in the house they want to eat?
We're not. But so why taking out?
When your kids were in your house, did they have to?
Oh man, they didn't do a thing. What happened? Let me ask you a question. Why is the $100 bill? And okay, $1 bill would be okay.
No. Of course not.
Why?
If they go into your wallet.
What is the difference? A wallet or a chocolate bar?
Because it's when you buy something and you put it in the cupboard.
It's for me. I bought it for myself.
No, it's for
I bought it for myself. I bought it for Shabbos. I bought it for
guests. In your pocket.
That's not the point.
If the kids go into a sack of candies on Shabbos and take your candy, you meant for the kids, was it stealing?
It is stealing.
No.
You meant it for the kids.
Yeah.
Was it stealing?
If a kid took from your sash of lollipops, yeah? Technically, he's stealing if he went without permission. 100%.
So I guess we need to define the stealing.
Okay, but I'm not a parent there.
Let's get back one second. Let's get back to this Gemara. When the wife is in business, there's a logical reason that the husband can make. She runs a store or administrating of the business, right? It makes sense in halacha that he should, if he has questions about it, that he can make her swear. Why? Why? Why isn't that living with a snake? Okay? Rabbi Elazar says, even the bread and thread, right? You can make it thread. Chamzeh, that's living with a snake. So why isn't the administration or the storekeeper different? Because a very simple thing. The guy's running a business. There's a reason to think that the woman will find a leniency. He said, listen, I'm his wife. I can take off a few bucks here personal, a few bucks here personal. And the guy doesn't want it. He's running a business. He needs to have a cheshbon. Right? He needs to have a reckoning. So then it makes sense that the husband should be able to make his wife swear. If she did what she, not. But Rabbi Elazar takes it to another extent. Even the needle, the thread she sews with, he could also make her swear. That's already going too far. But in business, there's a reason why he would be able to make her swear, because she would find an excuse to skim off a little bit from the top because she's a wife.
She wants to leave him, divorce him.
No, she doesn't want to divorce him.
Away.
Well, it's still stealing.
Yeah, right.
Okay. But technically, by the way, I'm not, according to halacha, for sure it's called stealing.
The candy bar?
Yeah. Unless if the parents give you permission. Unless if your parents don't care. What happens if the parent doesn't want the kid to eat the chocolate bar?
Well, listen, if it's, for dietary reasons where it's not
What's
supposed
the
to,
difference? Why? To take something without permission?
That's a very strict home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think a parent would accuse the kid of being a ganef if he goes into and takes a candy bar.
There was a story about the Talmud of the Maggid, forgot who it was, that somebody once came to him and offered to teach him secrets of the Torah, all great things. So he didn't know if he should do it or not, so he went to his Rabbi the Maggid, and he asked the Maggid if he should do it. So the Maggid said to him, did you say yes to the guy already? He said no. And he said 100% not, the guy's from the evil forces, and it's terrible. It's, the terrible, evil, Bezikin, don't do it. Then they asked this guy, why in the world did you think to ask the Maggid? They go offered you to teach you secrets of Torah and all great things. Where did you get this notion of it having to ask the Maggid? And he said he was raised, I think it was a stepmother, yeah, who she didn't like him. Okay, so he once took a portion when the stepmother wasn't home, the normal size portion that she would give him. And she came home, she hit him, and she said, Alain nemt minit. You don't take by yourself. Even though it's your portion, that's what I would be giving you. You don't take. And he said that was ingrained in my head, and therefore when this guy offered me this, I said, you don't take, without permission, you don't get, so I have to get permission to do it. It's not so simple. Okay, next Mishnah. Okay, now what happens if the husband, when he gets married, exempts his wife from the vows? Okay? So he says, cause of law, if a husband writes in the document to his wife, saying, Neidet ushvua ein li alecha. I don't have on you an oath or a vow, any yochel hashpia. He can never make her swear. Okay? Because that's what he says clearly. Okay? Now, avo, but, majbia es yoshel, he can impose a shvua on her heirs, v'esaboyim b'shus, or any of her successors. The husband writes to the wife, you will not have to swear to me, ever. Yeah? But that's only her. He's not excluding her heirs or her successors. The husband can make them swear, because he only excluded the wife. He said, you will not have to swear. Then what happens if he says, Neider shvua ein li alecha? He says, I have neither vow or oath on you, val yarshech, or on your heirs, val boyim b'shusech, or anybody of your successors. He writes even more. You will not have to swear, your heirs will not have to swear, your successors will not have to swear. And yachol lahashbiyah, he cannot make her swear. Lo he, not her. Lo yarshel, not her heirs. Lo boyim b'shusech. Okay? But Yershav, the husband's heirs, can make them swear. What did the husband say? I will not make you swear. Right? See, it's only on him. He will not make her swear. But if he dies, his heirs can make her swear, or her heirs, or her successors, whatever. Because again, it goes by what he said. If he says, you will not have to swear for me ever, it means only her, not her heirs. If he says, you or your heirs or successors will not have to swear, it includes all of them. What happens if he says, though, I will not make you swear, okay? But his kids, if he dies, his heirs can make her swear. The same thing that says like this, Neder shvua einli. What happens if he says, I have neither vow or oath, lo yarshai, not to my heirs, lo boim b'shusi, not to my successors, or alayich, not upon you, val yarshach, or your heirs, val boim b'shusech. Now he excludes everybody. He says, not me, not my heirs, not my successors can make you swear. You can't swear, your heirs can't swear, and your successors can't swear. So he includes everybody in the whole picture. The din is, the Mishnah says, Eni yochel ashbiya, loihu, lo yosheb, not him, not his kids, lo yaboim b'shus, any of his successors, and they cannot make swear, not her, not your her heirs, lo yaboim b'shus, anybody of her successors. Because it's clear. That's what he said. That's the deal he made. Okay? Even though halachically, technically, a husband could make the wife swear, we learned before. But if he writes clearly no, then it's no. Because he can make a condition, even if it's against halacha. Now the Mishnah is stating another strange case. What happens is the woman became a widow, and the expression is she went straight from the grave back to her father's house. Okay? Or she went back to her father-in-law's house, even though her husband died. Nasa petrupa, and she didn't become administrator. So the din is, they cannot make her swear. Why? Because she didn't become an apotropos. She didn't become an administrator. But in nasa petrupa, what happens if she went back after her husband's death and she became the administrator of the husband's estate? Then the kids could make her swear. His kids. Why? Because it's now their estate. They inherited it. So now she became the administrator for them. So then they can make her swear. But they can only make her swear on the management she does from here on, after the husband died. But not the heirs cannot make her swear for the past, what went on when the father was still alive. Because the father said he can't swear. But if she becomes a widow, and then she becomes an administrator of her husband, of blessed memories, estate, then the kids who own the estate now can make us swear for anything that happens from here onward, but not for what happened in the past. That they don't have the jurisdiction to make us swear, because that was the father's, it wasn't her. Okay, so that's what this Mishnah says. Okay, so now the Gemara is asking, what oaths are we talking about over here? There's a question going on both Mishnahs, by the way. We're learning about the guy making her swear, not making her swear. What swearing are we talking about here? Gemara says, Shvua Maya Vidite. What oath are we, what's the function of the oath here that we're talking about? Okay, so he says like this, Amar Yud Amar Rav, Ala Petrupa Shenase B'chaye Baila. It refers even to the administrative position that she assumed even when the husband was alive. Okay, that's the first answer to the Gemara. So what are we talking about? The waiver applies that she's an administrator and the husband can say that she doesn't have to swear. He waives the ability to swear.
To swear to what?
In case there was a question what she did with the money, or where the money went, or what she did with it, or how she spent it, and where was the revenue.
Okay.
Listen, when Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan, Moshe Rabbeinu was a pretty great guy, yeah? When Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan, the Jews came along and they said Moshe Rabbeinu stole money from the Mishkan. That's what they said. The Jews donated a lot of money, okay? And the Jews came to Moshe Rabbeinu and they said, this is a pasuk in Chumash. The Jews said Moshe Rabbeinu stole money. So the Medrash says Moshe Rabbeinu made a reckoning of every cent that came in and how it was spent. Okay? But there was one, there was 1,700 something that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know the reckoning. The sockets, yeah, good. 1 minute. So it says,
Silver sockets.
here, it makes a cheshbon all the kozav, it's nava, and then it says like this: Veso'elef u'shvameis v'chamisha v'shivim, 1,757. I'm sorry, 75. A voice. What did they do? They made the hooks for the pillars. So the Medrash says, what's the pasuk saying over here? They accused Moshe Rabbeinu of stealing, and he made a reckoning of everything except the 775 kikar of, the amount of silver. Yeah. So and he couldn't, and it was pretty sad because they were accusing Moshe Rabbeinu of stealing. So a voice came out from heaven. The Medrash says and said this pasuk that 1,775 they made hooks for the Yamudim. So you see that even the guy like Moshe Rabbeinu, building God's home, was also accused of stealing. So don't worry about it today when everybody accuses everybody of stealing everything. Don't worry about it. Even Moshe Rabbeinu had
like water off a duck's back.
had to live through it. But so yeah, you can make us swear what the cheshbon is. Okay, let me explain this. It's not, we're in the middle. There's a din like this, and that's the next opinion, but we have to understand now what the next opinion is. There's a din that's called Gemara Kesubos. A woman impairs her ksuba. A woman impairs her ksuba. What's the case? Normally, a man gets married, they write the ksuba, right? The husband dies or divorces her, she collects the ksuba. She collects it. Sometimes the woman needs cash. So the husband gives her a partial payment on the ksuba. In case it's a partial payment on the ksuba. That's called impairing the ksuba. Now she comes and she says, I didn't get it. And the husband said, I paid you the whole ksuba. So then the din is, she has to swear that she only got what she got. Okay? That's what's called Gemara Kesubos. So Rav Yehuda Amerav, what we just said, what's the shvur we're talking about? If it's an administrative position or a storekeeper position, then the husband can make her swear. But if it's something about impairing her ksuba, according to Rav Yehuda Amerav, even if he writes a release for it, she still would have to swear to collect that ksuba. In other words, the Gemara's question is, when the husband wavers the oath, what wavering of what oath are we talking about? The husband gets married and he says, I'm wavering the oaths. What oaths? There's no oaths now. What oath are we wavering? What is he wavering in this thing? So the Yehuda Merav says, what he wavers is the oath she would have to make if she's an administrator or a storekeeper. Then the husband says, you don't have to swear. But the case of Pegemis Kesubos, if she impairs the Ksuba and she wants to collect the Ksuba, then the din is she would have to swear anyway. Even if the husband says you don't have to swear. Okay? Okay. Now, that even if the husband says you don't have to swear, you have to swear. Why? Because this oath for impairing the Ksuba, she brought upon herself by taking money earlier in the Ksuba, getting prepaid Ksuba a little bit. She brought this oath on herself. The storekeeper oath, the administrator oath, she didn't bring it on herself. The husband's bringing it on her. Therefore, if he waives it, she wouldn't have to swear it because he's wavering it. But a shvur that she brings on herself by taking a prepayment of the ksuba that she asked for it, that oath she would have to swear even if the husband at the beginning of the marriage waives any oath for her. That's what Rabbi Yehuda Merav says. Rav Nachman Amar Rabbi bar Avuha al pegemis ksuba. No, even in the case where she impairs the ksuba, where normally she would have to collect the ksuba by swearing, the fact that the husband wrote at the beginning, you don't have to make any oaths or vows, she wouldn't have to swear. Huh? It's a machlekes. But in other words, as far as the storekeeper, administrator, everybody says if the husband waives the oath, she doesn't have to swear. The question, when the husband waives the oath, all oaths, does that include impairing the ksuba oath or not? One opinion says it does because he says no oath, it's no oath. The other opinion says no. When he said no oath, he meant oaths that I bring on you, but not an oath that you brought on yourself by collecting ksuba earlier, so you're forcing yourself to swear in order to collect it. Okay. So he says like this. Also, Rav Mordechai went. He told this discourse to Rav Ashi. Okay? And he said like this. I would understand according to Rav Nachman, who says even the oath of impairing the ksuba she doesn't have to make. That makes sense. Why? The maska daite, because when they get married, the husband knows there's a feasibility of her impairing the ksuba. Because it wasn't uncommon that a woman would ask a prepayment for the ksuba. So then the husband thinks about it and he says, you know what? It's a possibility. So I'm going to make her not swear for that also. Why? Because he knows. One day she's going to need money. And she'll take part of her ksuba. And she says, tells the husband, slavely delay mishbanli. Meaning like this. The woman, when they get married, comes to the husband. He says, you know what? By the way, why do you think the husband's writing that you don't have to make any oaths for me? Who's telling the husband to do that? The wife is. Why would the husband do that on his own? So obviously the wife, when they get married, comes to the husband and says, hey honey, guess what? I would like that you write in the ksuba or whatever that I don't have to swear anything. What is she thinking about? She's thinking about one day I might need money and I'm going to take a prepayment on the ksuba and therefore I would have to swear. So I don't want to swear. So I'm telling my husband, that's what she's thinking. But she'll never think she'll become a storekeeper or administrator of the husband. That's not common. So she never thought about that.
So what if she has to swear? So what?
She doesn't want to.
What's the big deal?
It was a big deal swearing. Yeah. They used to spook the room and they had to swear on a chumash, the Sefer Torah. It was spooky. You know it says in the... No, the Mefarshim say there were a lot of people in the Gemara, halachically, that were able to swear and get out a payment honest people that were able to swear and not pay. They knew they were right, but they didn't want to swear, and they would rather pay what they weren't obligated to pay just in order not to swear. They didn't want to swear. It was a spooky thing. It was a scary thing. Listen, it says, this is what they tell a guy when he does a biblical oath. They tell him, you should know that when God said, don't say my name in vain in 10 Commandments, the whole world shook. So you're going to swear falsely, just beware, you know? He said, but according to the opinion like Rav, that says, no, it only refers to the oath that she would have to make as administrator. Did a wife ever know in advance that she's going to become his storekeeper or his administrator? The amalei, that she can say to him, slavely, delay, mishtameli, the right for me that I'm not going to. She'll never think about that. The Gemara is saying, logically, when he told this over to Ravashi, he said to Ravashi, listen, in my opinion, that Mordechai says to Ravashi, in my opinion, this wavering of the oath should really only go definitely on the administrator, but even on the case of impairing the Kesubos. Because that makes sense that the woman should think that might happen, and she'll tell the husband to write a clause wavering the oath. But why in the world should she think about becoming his administrator or storekeeper? She never thought about that. Amalei, so Ravashi answered him, Asun Masnitala. You learned this law of Rabbi Yehuda on this case of the mission, therefore you have an issue. I learned it in a whole different din. This din was on a completely different din. It says like this, the other half of the mission, it says, if she went straight from the grave, she was a widow, right? She went straight from the grave back to her father's house. Or she goes back to the father-in-law's house. And she doesn't become an apotropos. She doesn't become this administrator. Then the kids cannot make her swear because she never became an administrator. And if she did become an administrator, the kids, what did we just learn at the end of the mission? The kids can make her swear for the future, but not for the past. So the question is, what function of past are we talking about? What did make her swear for what? The kids, it says if she becomes a patrupas later, the kids can make her swear for the future. What oath would be in the past? She was never the storekeeper.
If she borrowed money from the...
Oh, so it says, but if it's between the death and the burial, then the heirs could make her swear.
It's between the death and the burial.
Yeah.
Why is that? In between? Why?
Why?
Why between?
Because the property became hers right away.
Uh-huh.
I mean, theirs. As soon as he dies, right?
Right.
The moment of death.
Right.
And there's ownership, like he says. Anyone considered not under his ownership. Okay, the Gemara is going to explain what this means. Rav Nachman just the Mishnah's first cause. He reviewed the except Rav Nachman. Basically, what he's saying, you can't swear for the past. If she became the administrator between between the death and the burial.
If she became an administrator between the death and the burial.
Then they can't make her swear.
They cannot?
No. Only for the future, not for the past.
And what if she does not become an administrator?
Then they can't make her swear.
They cannot.
No. Okay.